I have more information about the upcoming version 3.2. Just like Castorice, from last 3.2 drip marketing information, we already know that Anaxa seems to be a new character in that version. Well, based on the information we get, Anaxa is a character with wind type with Erudition Path. Rumor has it that Anaxa has a very unique kit. He can implant weaknesses in enemies using his abilities. And the rumor is that he can implant up to 7 different types of weaknesses. Isn't that awesome? I know you are all super excited. So without further ado, I'm Hoyo Station, and in this video we will take a closer look at Anaxa's full kit in version 3.2. Let's do this. Do you have a character or weapon in the game that you really want but you don't have enough stellar jades? Here's a smarter way to recharge your favorite games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Look no further than Lootbar. Lootbar is the most reliable top-up platform. It saves up to 20% for all orders compared with the official channel, and it provides an 80% off for your first purchase. It's 100% safe as you will only be using your UID. We will buy pack for 3,000 stellar jades for $42, which otherwise would have costed $50. Totally saving $7.5. We received the crystals we purchased in the less than 3 minutes. All recharges will be done through the official channel with miHoyo, which allows you to enjoy all top-up offers. Ready to level up your gaming experience? Check the link in the description to get the amazing discount. As I said before, Anaxa is a character with the wind type and Erudition Path. This makes him the 6th 5-star character with the wind type in this game, along with Fei Xiao, Huohuo, Bronya, Black Swan, and Blade. As always, we will first talk about his base stat. Anaxa has a base HP of 970 points, which is much lower than the HP of some other Erudition characters. Most Erudition characters have a base attack above 1000 points. Anaxa's base attack is much greater than the most Erudition characters, including Zerta and Jade, a popular Erudition character. Unfortunately, Anaxa's speed is much lower than other Erudition characters, and among all units with the wind type, he has the lowest speed at 94 points. This is unfortunate because he should have a much better speed, especially since he is a character with a DPS or sub-DPS role. Anaxa's main kit is his talent. Unlike Silver Wolf, who can only provide weakness through her skills and a single target, Anaxa can provide random weakness through his talent named Tetrad Wisdom Range Thrice. This talent allows Anaxa to attack the enemy with basic attack, skill, or ultimate, and every one hit received by the enemy will provide one random weakness to the target for 3 turns. One more thing to note is that the weakness type given by Anaxa every hit is a type that the enemy does not own. When Anaxa is in battle, he will automatically give a status debuff called Qualitative Disclosure to enemies who have at least 5 different weakness types. Anaxa will deal 60% more damage to enemies that have the Qualitative Disclosure status. Also, when Anaxa uses basic attack or skills on targets that have Qualitative Disclosure, he can attack the target using his skills again without using any SP. This kit is very interesting because it allows Anaxa to indirectly continue dealing damage to the enemy by using his bounce type skill, which can attack up to 5 different targets. If the enemy has Qualitative Disclosure status, Anaxa's skill will be triggered again, making his hit even more powerful. This talent may look powerful, but there are more important things to consider. The weakness implant mechanic only reduces the enemy's toughness, but it doesn't reduce the enemy's elemental resistance. Let's look at one of the bosses we often encounter, Aventurine. According to data from various sources, Aventurine is weak to physical, ice, lightning, and wind. However, Aventurine has a very high resistance at 40% against 3 elements: fire, quantum, and imaginary. So Aventurine do not have weaknesses from these elements. Of course, Anaxa can give weakness implants in the form of fire, quantum, and imaginary through this talent to Aventurine. However, the damage you deal to Aventurine is still greatly reduced because Aventurine is highly resistant to these elements. I think this mechanism is ideal for use in the Apocalyptic Shadow mode, which requires us to be able to break our enemy's toughness. What do you think? Now, we will look at the next kit. Fractal Exile's Fallacy is a bounce type skill that gives wind damage equal to 60% of Anaxa's attack to one enemy and 4 additional hits to random enemies. Each hit will prioritize enemies that have not been hit with this skill. This skill is very good because of the combination of effects with his talent, which gives random enemies types to enemies hit by Anaxa. Pretty cool, right? Normally, Anaxa's skill will give Anaxa an additional 30 energy. However, if Anaxa attacks enemies with more than 5 weakness types, his talent will be active, and he will automatically get an extra 60 energy points every turn by using this skill twice. Of course, this huge energy gain is really good for him. With this substantial energy increase, Anaxa can consistently use ultimate every 2 turns. Another interesting thing about this skill is that it can be used up to 2 times per turn, which makes it so that other characters like Zerta and Tribi can replenish their energy faster. As we know, Zerta and Tribi have a special trait that gives them extra energy for each enemy attacked by allies. In the case of the Erudition team, Anaxa can act as an energy battery that can speed up the use of ultimate for them. Another note that I need to inform you, because this skill is of the bounce type, this skill is also effective if used to attack enemies that are single targets or boss types. Because if there is only one enemy in the field, the damage caused through this skill will be very big, which is at 600%, because this skill can be triggered twice. Interesting, right? In addition to all interesting things that I have mentioned before, there's one last thing you should know, which is that this skill has a very high toughness reduction. This skill can reduce 30 toughness per skill, which means that if there's a single enemy or boss, then every time this skill is triggered, it will immediately reduce 60 toughness of the enemy if this skill is triggered twice. That is, with this skill kit, Anaxa also has a chance to enter the Super Break team. Okay, now we will discuss his ultimate, Sprouting Life Sculpts Earth. This ultimate gives all enemies sublimation status and inflicts wind damage equal to 150% of Anaxa's attack. Enemies with sublimation status will be weak to all types of attacks: physical, fire, ice, lightning, wind, quantum, and imaginary for 1 turn. If the target doesn't have control resistance, their actions will be delayed for as long as they have this status. Just for the information, control effects resistant affects all debuffs that prevent the victim from taking action, including frozen, entanglement, imprisonment, dominated, and outrage. In the case of an overlap with a different resistance, they will multiply. Anyway, his ultimate makes it easier to trigger an excess talent. Instead of waiting for the enemy to have 5 weaknesses, we can give them all weakness types with this ultimate, even if it's only for 1 turn. The weakness implants effect is short-lived because the energy it gives is high, which makes this ultimate easy to trigger. Next, we will talk about Pupil of Reason, which makes an area that makes enemies hit by terrified status. Terrified enemies stay away from Anaxa for 10 seconds. If we enter battle and attack an enemy in the terrified state, it will give 1 weakness type from the attacker of each enemy in the battle for 3 turns. Anaxa's terrified effect is similar to Huo's technique, which also repels enemies from the user's area. However, Anaxa's terrified effect gives a weakness type to the enemy in battle, depending on the attacker's type. This technique is also quite effective, especially when the enemy does not have a weakness type that matches the type of our DPS character. Of course, this technique will work well in the Apocalyptic Shadow mode, because in this mode, we have to break enemies' weakness within a certain time. Okay, now we will move on to Anaxa's traces. For minor traces, it will provide an additional wind damage boost of 22.4%, defense by 22.5%, and critical rate by 6.7%. In general, these 3 statuses are quite good for Anaxa, who has a role as a DPS or sub-DPS. But in my personal opinion, I don't like the addition of defense given to him. Anaxa should focus on increasing his speed instead, as it is currently the lowest among all DPS characters. What's your take on it? His first trace, Qualitative Shift, works like this. Anaxa's damage ignores 3% of the enemy's defense for up to 7 weakness types. This means Anaxa's damage can ignore up to 21% of the enemy's defense at its highest level, making his damage even stronger. Anaxa can easily reach 21% defense ignored thanks to his ultimate, which instantly provides 7 weakness types. His second trace, Imperative Gap, has an interesting fact. It provides buffs based on the number of Path Erudition characters on the team. If there's 1 Erudition character, it will increase Anaxa's critical damage by 140%. With 2 or more Erudition characters, it will increase the damage of all teammates by 30%. This trace lets us use several playstyles with this character. For example, if we only use Anaxa as the only erudition in the team, then Anaxa will act as a hyper carry unit, because 140% critical damage is nice buff for him. Anyway, we can also use two erudition characters in the team, such as Derta and Anaxa, because this combination increases the damage done to enemies by 30% for all allies. And Derta can also activate her passive buff, which can increase critical damage to all allies. Finally, Anaxa's Third Trace, Roaming Signifier, increases the energy gained from basic attack by 10. This means that the energy he gets from basic attacks and skills is the same as the energy from his Third Trace, which is 30. Also, if there are no enemies with the qualitative disclosure, when Anaxa starts his turn, he will immediately get 30 energy. This is a great way to refill Anaxa's energy when the enemy doesn't have the qualitative disclosure status or at the start of the battle. It lets Anaxa use his ultimate move after using basic attacks or skills in the first turn. Now, we will talk about the final part of Anaxa's kit, his Eidolon. For Eidolon 1, named Stars Hidden by Magician, gives you 1 skill point when you first use it. When Anaxa's skill hit enemies, they reduce the enemy's defense by 16% for 2 turns. Eidolon 1 gives extra SP at the start of the battle, which makes the initial battle cheaper so you can manage your SP better. Also, Anaxa's skill attack all enemies, so they all get a 16% defense reduction, which increases the team's damage output. Next, we will talk about Eidolon 2. Soul, True to History. Anaxa's ultimate attack will increase the damage dealt by 3 additional hits, dealing wind damage equal to 50% of Anaxa's attack to a random enemy. Additionally, the Eidolon's effect increases Anaxa's speed by 12% for 2 turns after using the ultimate attack. The Eidolon's effect is quite good because it increases the damage dealt by Anaxa's ultimate attack. This damage is especially effective when used against a single target enemy, as it will receive the full additional damage from the Eidolon 2. The fourth Eidolon, named Blaze, Plunged to Canyon, has a skill that increases attack by 40% for 2 turns when used. This effect can be stacked for 3 turns. Anaxa has a kit that can launch additional skills every turn, so this effect can be activated very easily. With the addition of attack by 120% at its highest stack, Anaxa's damage output will increase significantly. Finally, the sixth Eidolon, Everything is in Everything, will make every ultimate attack that results in the status of sublimation on the enemy in battle increase Anaxa's damage permanently during the battle by 3% of the original damage. This can be stacked up to 5 times, and the permanent 15% damage increase can be applied to all attack kits owned by Anaxa. In short, Anaxa's Eidolon 6 gives a 15% boost to the damage it causes. Next, we will look at Anaxa's signature light cone, Life Should Be Cast to Flames. This increases the critical rate by 18% and gives 10 energy each turn. When you attack, it reduces the defense of the debuffed enemy by 6% for 2 turns. This stacks up to 2 times. This light cone is great one used by Anaxa. It gives a good critical rate, 10 energy each turn, and a defense reduction that increases the damage of all team members. By using this light cone, you have the certainty of being able to use Anaxa's ultimate every 2 turns, because every turn Anaxa will get 70 energy. I think this light cone has a pretty general effect. Besides Anaxa, you can also use it with various erudition units. Finally, we come to the last discussion in this video, which is the best characters and teams to pair with Anaxa. As we know, Anaxa is an erudition character that can provide more value to other members of the team, such as giving debuffs, giving weakness type to enemies, and also giving extra energy to certain units. The first character that fits perfectly with Anaxa is none other than Derta. Derta is a character with the main DPS role that can attack in areas and provide high damage through her enhanced skill. Derta has a kit that requires her to play with one more erudition character to maximize her set. Of course, this is coincidentally the same as Anaxa's kit, which will provide benefits in the form of increased damage to one team if there are other erudition characters beside her, making these 2 characters suitable when placed in a team. It will feel less if we don't add 3B to this list. As I've told you before, Anaxa's talent allows him to attack the enemy twice, which will certainly make 3B's energy boost of 15 energy per turn significant. Also, Anaxa is a character that can easily trigger her ultimate, which makes 3B's talent easy to trigger. So it's clear that these 2 characters are very good together. The next character that will work well when paired with Anaxa is Jade. Because of Jade's area of effect attack and also because of the Debt Collector effect that can be given to Anaxa, which attacks all enemies because his skill prioritizes enemies that have not been hit by his skill. In addition to his area of effect skills, his ultimate can also attack all enemies, allowing Jade to use her follow-up attack, Fang of Flare Flaying, at high frequency. On the other hand, since Anaxa is a character that tends to be SP negative, Jade is better suited to be paired with Anaxa as a character that can balance the use of SP. The last character is Himeko. Yes, as you know, Himeko herself is now widely used in the Super Break team as the main team, because Himeko's talent called Victory Rush will be active when the enemy is hit by weakness break up to 3 times. Now Anaxa, who can give weakness implants to the enemy, will make all enemies have fire weakness, which will make the enemy go into weakness break status quickly, which will make it easier for Himeko to use her follow-up attack. Okay guys, maybe that's all for this video. What do you think? If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to check out my other videos because they are just as cool. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.